John Fredericks Radio Network. Joining us now, David Butterworth. He's with the Pipeliners Union 798. He had a bunch of guys laid off in December. I grew up in a union household. I get it. And my father got laid off a bunch of times and really hurt the family by strikes and other crazy stuff going on. So, hey, David, good to have you with us. So, look, David, I grew up in a union household, right? My father was a member of the of a New York local. He was a pressman in the newspaper business. He worked for the New York Post, the New York Times, the Daily News, many papers that went out of business, Brooklyn Eagle, things of that nature, World Journal Tribune. And so my father would get laid off when papers went out of business, or there was a work stoppage, or there was a strike, and we basically suffered. I mean, the family we had very little to eat, and so you really had to make ends meet. I remember many times my father would have to take odd jobs like parking vehicles or something when he got laid off in his union job. But so I grew up in a union household. Tell us what is going on with your union workers now that this ridiculous work stoppage has this judge has stopped the Atlantic Coast Pipeline. What's going on, David?
Well, I've got a lot of guys laid off, guys and gals laid off. Last year, we took a lot of people on to actually man this big boom of work that we had. We also had a couple other pretty big projects going. So we manned the work up, get the jobs going. We got one of the three major jobs completed, and then the other two got shut down when the permits got jerked. So everybody was kind of planning on having steady employment for a couple of years. Well, that didn't happen. Now everybody's sitting at the house with no job.
With no job, David, and no income coming in, and they expected these jobs, all these jobs killed by a group of left-wing wacko environmentalists. The pipeline has been stopped, so everybody knows, because they got a judge's order to stop it from going under a part of the Appalachian Trail. Do you know how many pipelines, David, are going under that trail right now? 25.
As a matter of fact, I laid one in New York back in the late 90s or early 2000s. I can't remember the exact year, but I laid one that paralleled and crossed the Appalachian Trail in Tuxedo Park, New York. And the thing's still flowing gas.
It's unbelievable.
Everything's good there. So right, this won't be the first time that a pipeline crossed the Appalachian Trail.
I'm going to bring in, I've got a clip here. I'm going to bring in one of your workers that got laid off, Ted Deach, I think his name is.
Ted Deach.
I'm going to bring, Ted Deach, just a part of your union, got laid off, has no job, had a job, now he's not drawing a paycheck, he's sitting at home. And, this is just a travesty for all these workers and union workers especially. Let's go, Kira, I think we got two clips on Ted. Let's go, Kira, to cut one on Ted Deach.
I have a little boy that's 7, a girl that's 4, and also have 2 older children. My wife and I now have another child expected on the way. The delay has definitely caused a great concern for my family and myself, not knowing when the work's going to start or how we're going to pay our bills. We may have to give up a few things or lose a few things. It's going to be affecting a lot of people. I'm ready to go back to work and get the ACP going again. The sooner the better.
Well, yeah, because the Atlantic Coast Pipeline, it brings jobs in building the pipeline, good paying union jobs. And then this is the other thing, David. After the pipeline is in, it brings more jobs, because then manufacturers come in, they can tap into the energy along the pipeline, and the pipeline is going into areas that don't have jobs. So there's an opportunity in rural areas, both in Virginia and northeast North Carolina, down towards Elizabeth City, to get a bunch of manufacturers to come in there. So all this is doing is hurting jobs, hurting the flow of energy, hurting manufacturers, hurting union workers, and it makes no sense. What is your reaction to all this, David?
Well, I'll be honest with you. The other side, the left wing side, they do have an agenda, and their thoughts don't make sense to me either. They are totally anti-fossil fuel. They think we turn a switch off and then, we turn a switch, go to wind and solar, and everything's going to be fine. I personally have a solar-powered cabin in West Virginia. I'm from West the other Virginia, the best Virginia. I'm sorry, I probably shouldn't have said that, but anyway.
That's okay.
So my cabin up in West Virginia is run by solar, and, you know, when we don't have sun, we don't have power. And we're not there yet. Natural gas is the bridge fuel. If I'm not against wind and solar, I'm not saying it can't be a viable option, but right now we're not there. You know, the only thing that is going to change the environmentalist minds is when maybe they shut the gas off to their homes and then they have a little bit of a rough winter. I know that can't be done, and it sounds a little extreme, but it would show folks how important natural gas is to our country. I mean, in the 40s, we built the war line to get World War II won. The Germans were bombing our ships, you know, going up to New York City, so we laid 2 lines up to Jersey. I mean, this has been going on for a long time, and we still need this infrastructure in our country. I don't care what anybody says.
Well, it's also jobs, and it's hurting real people. And so again, you've got an extremist group of
they also say that we all work temporary jobs. I literally worked temporary jobs for 20 years. I went from one to the other to the other. I mean, yeah, you'll hit a 6-month project, and then maybe a 2-month project comes up. Then you'll hit a 3-month project, or you hit another 6 months. But I stayed steadily employed for 20 years doing this type of work. And when I first started it, I thought this is one of the most honorable, noble ways to make a living, by just honestly going out, giving it all you got, working hard. Welding, we weld the pipe together. It's a highly regulated skill. It's a great skill to have. It's something you're proud to do. But now to go to these hearings where these environmentalists, you know, they get in your face and they want to argue with you and all that. I never thought in a million years that when I started this profession that I would be looked down upon at one point in my life, and that is exactly what's going on the other side.
So when you go there, David Butterworth, and we're with David Butterworth, he's with the Pipeliners Union 798. For layman's terms, that's like the old pipe fitters union. They weld pipes together, Union 798, in the Virginia area. He had a bunch of his guys laid off in December, and they're still looking to get back to work on the pipeline. So when you go to these meetings, David, they basically mock you and your.
In Richmond, there are a couple. I think it was February. They circled, you know, when they had the Mountain Valley recertification permit hearings with the Virginia Water Board. They circled us up. They antagonize you. They try to get you to do things, and they want you to do that. They walked a circle around where we were sitting and were singing songs, and then locked arms and started chanting. You know, right next to you. I mean, 5 feet away, way up in your personal space. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And it is what it is. I guess they're passionate, but I'm passionate too. I'm passionate for my guys getting back to work, and nothing's going to back me off from that. I mean, ever. So I'm gonna keep doing what I'm doing my best to procure work for my members up here in the northeast part of the country. I cover from Virginia to Maine. Any union pipeline job that goes on, I'm going to be the guy that deals with the contractor on that job and places the job steward there. And any issues that come up, I'm the guy that they're going to call. So I'm proud of this area. I'm from West Virginia. You know, this is a lot of guys in my community did this growing up. You either went to college or you pipelined. That's the way it was. And I actually went to college and did pipeline in the summer and came back to it because it's what my father did. And like I said, it's an honest, noble way to make a living. And to be attacked these days, I never in a million years thought we'd go there, but we are there. I promise you. So.
Well, look, David, I really appreciate what you do. And as I said, I grew up in a union household, and my father was very loyal to his union. In fact, when he died, we had to put his union card in his breast pocket. That's how part of his union he was.
That's awesome, John. I love hearing stuff like that.
Yeah, and I remember he was also a union leader, so he would take me. They had, in his business, newspaper business, they had a bunch of strikes. And so, yeah, he would take me to the picket lines. And I remember, you know, you see on TV sometimes in the old movies where they would have the metal garbage can on fire in the cold, right, with the fire coming. That's exactly what they did. That's exactly real.
Yep.
And
that was you. That was you.
That's right, man. And he would take me there and hold my hand, and they would be on the picket line, and they have the.
Well, I'm the same way. I grew up in a union household. My dad would not work non-union even when times were slow, and it fed me. And we had to pinch pennies at times, but hey, I was proud to do it. It taught me a lot about life and character building, and I think it's great. The unions are, they get a bad rap sometimes, but they're the right thing to do. I can tell you that.
Well, tell you what, David, it's so interesting that you say that. It brings back memories. Like my father, when people would cross the picket line, my father would call them scabs. That was the slang term. And so they were really mad at them. And my father would get, we had no money when he was on strike because there was no income coming in. And basically, your meals got down to spam. I mean, it was very tough. And he would get offers of jobs, non-union jobs, and he wouldn't take them. And my mother could never figure it out. He's like, look, once I do that, it's a slap in the face to my members and to our solidarity. So I'd rather eat beans than take a non-union job, because what they're trying to do is break the back of the union, he used to say. And the reason, the way they do that is by keeping you out of work and making you go back to work, take another non-union job, same field. So I really get that. I'm going to play a clip here from Casey Early Mills. Let's go to Kiara. Let's go to cut 2.
The Atlantic Coast Pipeline coming through has actually made my business. I was running in the red. It's a first-year business. As soon as the pipeline order that came in, I went directly into the black, and that's been huge for me. I'm in a position where I could create jobs, and that's one of the things the pipeline has helped me do.
It's been about a month since work at the Atlantic Coast Pipeline stopped due to a ruling from the Fourth Circuit Court of Appeals. Now local business owners saying they're paying a price.
It's going to be hard if this continues to be shut down. I haven't had the first order in January.
For them to come in here to give me a chance and everybody in this town a chance, that's a huge opportunity, and I cannot blow it. It cannot.
That is from Casey Mills. So what is your reaction to that, David?
Well, it sounds like he was a business owner down there that's affected. When the pipeline came through, his business thrived, and now that it's gone, it's not thriving. Sounds like to me. And I'm sure that's not just him. It's probably quite a few businesses along the route of the pipeline. Those guys, my guys come into the communities. They spend money in restaurants. The contractors spend money for any kind of consumables or supplies that they may need. My guys stay in hotels and gals. That we bring money to the local economy, and for people to want to be shutting this thing down, I don't understand it. But I do think it'll get built eventually once cooler heads prevail. And we'll be back, and we'll revitalize the communities while we're there. We'll spend money. I promise you, the guys get paid a good wage when they're working. But right now, nobody's working. I got a lot of guys out of work, and it was kind of like a catch-22. We put a lot of extra people on. We took on members last year to man this work, and now we don't have it. So now the members are sitting. So it's a very tough situation for me. I get calls frequently from guys, when's it going to pick up? I really don't know what I'm going to do here. I would like for some of the politicians or these judges that are shutting this down, I'd like for them to get these phone calls.
Yeah, well, or them to be have families that are in your business, pipe fitters or other people affected, other union workers affected. But I tell you, one other thing you said is, the intimidation and the mocking of union workers, and the fact that they call it temporary jobs. You know how many times I've heard that? Oh, it's just a temporary job. Well, it's like you said, David Butterworth. The entire business is based on temporary jobs. You go from one job site to the next. I mean, that's what the business is. So to sit there and say these are temporary jobs,
and
it's so insulting.
We've had a union since '49. This union's been around since 1949. I mean, it's not like this is a fly-by-night outfit here.
I know. It's unbelievable. The fact that good union workers that have a trade, that believe in what they're doing, have to sit there and get mocked by these.
Well, let me tell you something. A protester said she said after the Virginia Water Board ruled in favor of the other pipeline project, that they could not revoke the water permits, she said, I know this is tough, but this is what she said. She said, you men over there, I hope that they backfill your bodies, and they cover your bodies up with dirt when they build this pipeline. That's how irrational they are.
Well, it's
literally what she said.
It is
just screamed it out in the room. I hope they bury you guys on the side of one of these hills.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, ma'am.
You have to deal with that and the vitriol that comes out of it. And this is just basically a handful of people and a few very left-wing activist judges. And the fact they shut the Atlantic Coast Pipeline down because of the route under the Appalachian Trail when there's already 25 pipelines going under it is unbelievable. Like, based on what? Like the other 25 or what harm did they do? Zero.
Well, to be honest with you, the technology today, these pipelines, they're the most highly regulated industry out there. I mean, they are highly regulated. Every welder comes to the job, he's got to take a qualification test. If he can't make a qualification test, he goes home. If he gets 3 rejects on the job, he goes home. Mm-hmm. I mean, there are highly skilled people building this thing correctly. And for somebody that's never worked a day on their life on the pipeline right away to tell me that these welds are going to fail, it's just asinine is the best way I know how to put it. But they think they know, I guess. But I spent 20 years on the right of way. I think I'd probably know more than what they do. But you cannot talk to these people. They're hard-headed. I used to try to talk to them, be sympathetic, but you're not going to change their mind. They got an answer for everything. And I just am going to keep doing what I can do, and that's speaking out and trying to get my members back to work.
David Butterworth, Pipeliners Union 798, Maine to Virginia. David, you keep fighting for your members.
Yes, sir, I will.
You keep fighting for your members just like my father fought for his members. You keep fighting, David, and eventually this is going to play out, and these jobs are coming back.
I think it will. I think it will.
All right. Thank you, David Butterworth. I really appreciate it. Pipeliners, basically Pipefitters Union 798. These guys have been laid off because of the whack jobs trying to stop a simple pipeline from going under the Appalachian Trail where there's already 25 of them. Insanity reigns with this stuff.